We will start with the broadcast section with no embargo, followed by an embargoed section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. No live tweeting during the broadcast section, please, and use a microphone provided. Michael.
Ange, final on the season. How are you?
Good. Yeah.
Good. How's the squad looking?
The only one that's out is Gio. Also, he got a bit of a knock when he came on. Didn't train today. We've got training tomorrow, obviously. Everyone else still a little bit sort of recovering from the game, but nothing that I think will keep anyone out. So kind of a similar squad to last game.
Okay, probably want a time to move on now, but just final reflection on Tuesday night. Have those inside issues been addressed for you?
No, not in 2 days, mate. No. No, I think, as I said at the time, we've got some work to do, and that's clear and evident, and that's what we need to focus on.
Has this week made you even more determined to turn this football club into winners?
No, mate, I've been determined from day one. Nothing's changed. I haven't been deterred, if that's what people are worried about. Certainly not. It's. I think when you accept the role, you accept the challenge of that role, and nothing that's happened in the last 2 weeks has changed my view on, how we go about that. So, but I also believe that you have to know where you're at. There's no point sort of kidding yourself that you're somewhere you're not, because then you can't improve.
It's been quite a season. So many ups, some downs as well, which you've mentioned. How do you expect the club and the players, the club in general, to look in maybe 12 months' time?
Look, it's hard to say because, as I said the other night, I think we've made progress, but there's obviously still a long way to go in sort of believing that progress is entrenched in the team we're going to be next year. But the flip side of that is that, I've said recently that there's a part of me that thinks it's pretty exciting as well, because for a lot of these guys, they've set a pretty decent level of performance in their first or second year with us, and if there's growth there, then I think it'll make us a better football club next year. And I certainly feel like we'll be starting well ahead of where we were at the start of this year for sure. Where that takes us next year will be dependent on how we deal again with whatever challenges we have.
I know you want to bring trophies to this club. One of your former clubs, Celtic, sealing the title this week. Just a quick word on them.
No, I love it, mate. Yeah, brilliant. Great people, great manager, great staff, great footballers, unbelievable club. And I watched the game, and I know, because I've experienced how they would have felt at that final whistle, and then going back to Celtic Park late at night. It's a pretty special place, and credit to them. It was a difficult year for sure for Brendan and the guys, but when it mattered, when it counted, they stood up, and couldn't be happier for everyone here.
Been a pleasure. Speak to you in August.
Thank you, bud.
Charlie.
Hi, Ange. I interviewed Dejan Kulusevski yesterday, and he said, yes, the players are hurting because, you haven't been able to qualify for the Champions League. But he said, nothing great is created in one season, and there'll be plenty of positives to take away into the summer. How does it make you feel when you're hearing that kind of review from one of your players?
Look, I guess it's important that obviously the players are the most important component in all this, irrespective of kind of my ideas or what I feel, needs to improve. It does need buy-in by the players. I think we've had that for the most part. I guess my sort of assessment at this point is that, a lot of it I still don't feel is embedded in everything we do. And until it is, it's very hard then to kind of think about how do we get to the next level until, I'm reticent to move on, from where we are now in terms of what we're trying to build, unless I really feel that, players, staff, everybody is kind of really firmly on board with the way we want to play and the way we want to sort of train. So, but it does need, buy-in from the players. And the one thing I will say about the whole playing squad is that it hasn't been through a lack of effort or trying. they've given their all this year. We have, tangible physical data that shows us that. There isn't a game where they haven't spent it all out there. It's just that sometimes, we haven't got reward for it.
Obviously, it's been such a busy season. You've got this game on Sunday, and then, of course, you go to Australia next week. But for yourself, your first season managing in the Premier League, when will you have the time to really reflect on how the season has gone for you, and how would you reflect on it?
Yeah, look, I think you kind of start that process towards the end of the season. There's various sort of meetings I'm having this week. Obviously, we've still got a game to go, which is very important for us. But, trying to get sort of as much information as I can before I start sort of really reflecting, because you to get a real sort of accurate picture of where we're at, you've got to go right back to the start, and sometimes some of that's a bit hazy. So it's important you get all the right information, talk to the people who've been there since the beginning, coaches, staff members, players, and sort of collate all that, and then when the season's done, sort of take my own time to sort of go through it methodically and sort of give myself an accurate picture of where we're at, so that when we come back for pre-season, we're in a space where we can hit the ground running.
And finally, from me, I know you said on Tuesday after the game that you hadn't seen Rodrigo Bentancur's reaction when he came off. Have you felt the need to speak to him? Have you seen it? Have you spoken to him since then?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. We had a chat about it, and look, he's a passionate guy. He was angry, but I don't think that's the way you react, and he understands that, and so it wasn't the biggest issue of the night for me, that's for sure.
Hi, Ange. Did he say what he was particularly annoyed about?
Well, he just wants to win, mate. So, he wanted to be out there to help the team to win. And, he doesn't like it, and, felt like he wanted to be out there fighting, and that was taken away from him.
I wanted to ask you about VAR. Sorry, I know you've been asked about this a million times this season, but there's talk that there's going to be a vote for it to be scrapped. Where do you stand on that?
Oh.
I mean, I know how you feel about VAR, but would you
Okay.
now presented
it's your first
with
press conference, Charlie?
if presented with that vote, would it just be get rid?
Yeah. Look, I've consistently said I'm not a fan of it, and I don't think they will get rid of it because we're too far down the track. I just don't think it's serving a purpose that it should, and I think they should bring it in when the technology can match the expectations, and I don't think it does at the moment. So when they brought in goal line technology, it was seamless. It was like you bring it in, it helps the game, nothing changes. They're talking about semi-automated offside, so if that is accurate and that's quick, then by all means use it, because it doesn't slow down the game. It doesn't, we get this ridiculous notion of waiting for an hour to look at some blurry images with some lines. I mean, I think it's almost prehistoric that we're going down that route, and yet we accept it. And then the rest of the game, we'll let the referee referee it. And like I said, if the technology gets to a level where we can introduce it and it doesn't affect our game, then by all means. But I don't know. I think there was just this real clamour to bring it in at the time, because everyone kept saying, well, you'll never get the Maradona handball, and you'll never get whatever other decision that. But they were picking up isolated incidents that there's a reason they stand out, because they didn't happen every week. And now all of a sudden, every decision is getting scrutinised, where, as I said, we don't celebrate goals anymore, or we celebrate them 3 times, or we're waiting to see whether something's offside. Linesmen are putting their flags up. It's just changed the game materially. So I would scrap it, not because I'm against it being sort of implemented, but get the technology right, prove that it works, and run it with from there.
Will you, or have you spoken to the people at the club who'll actually get to vote on this?
I guess, unlike you, Charlie, I think they're pretty clear on my views on VAR. So
it's been so vague.
Yeah. Okay, so I've tried to sort of be fairly explicit about it. So I think, depending on the club's view, I don't think they'll be coming to me asking what I think.
I just wanted to ask you, one of the things that's defined this season has been how aligned it's felt like you and the fans have been, which really hasn't been the case for many of the last few years at this club. How then do you view there was this divergence towards the game on Tuesday? We don't have to go over the details, but do you have a message for the supporters? Do you think that's changed anything in your mind?
Look, I'd like to think I didn't change my sort of stance or view of that. I think I was asked after the game about the atmosphere, and I said I didn't think it was normal. I didn't like it, but I also didn't say that. I expected fans to behave differently. That's their right, and I've always said that, and I still stand by that. I also stand by the fact that I have an opinion on it. I don't think it's right. It's just the way I feel, and that's. I think you support your team to win all the time, but that's my view. I guess I got it wrong, plainly, that I'm in the minority when it comes to that. So that's a lesson for me, I guess. But I don't think I kind of. Expressed any real sort of disappointment or in terms of asking or pleading for people to do something against their will. I accept that, and so you've got to, like I said, for me, hopefully we're never in that situation again, but if we are, I certainly would approach it differently than I did this time, because like I said, I didn't take it seriously. I really genuinely believe that when we got to the stadium, it would just be a normal game, and it wasn't. So people feel strongly about it. Well, I've just got to accept that.
And just kind of on a similar-ish note, we normally see you so calm and collected, nothing phases you really on the touchline, but there was one moment that's doing the rounds of fan behind the dugout, maybe doing something that you reacted to. I just wondered what happened in that moment.
Two separate issues. Firstly, the fan. Well, the fan just... I think if you sit behind the bench, especially in a home game, you've got to be respectful of the fact you're within earshot of the most important people. So he wasn't happy we just conceded a goal. So I just turned around to sort of find out what his problem was, and then he used language that he shouldn't, and he was abusive, and if I hear that, I don't care who it is, I'll deal with it. So, but he's more than welcome to come back next time and take his seat up and express his opinions. If he swears, if he's abusive, he'll cop the same treatment from me again. But at the same time, you also feel, well, mate, I cop it on opposition grounds every week. Give me a break at my home ground, So, but I was, look, and I'll try and explain it this way. That's probably the worst experience I've had as a football manager in a game. Because once I realised that I got it wrong in terms of what the atmosphere was going to be like and what people felt, I got a real anxiety within me of what happens if Man City, who are the best team in the world and who were disposing of teams quite easily in the lead-up, for Brighton, for wherever they played, that scored 15, 16 goals the last 4 games. What if we play as well as we can, but they beat us 5-0? I got in cold sweats thinking about people questioning my integrity and the people I work with. Even watching the game back, there was a comment somebody mentioned to me in the commentary saying, Tottenham are having a real go here. Now, you're laughing about it, but that's 26 years of my life. I'm if nothing else, people should know about me. I love this game, and I'm very principled. And I'd hate to think, because Manchester City could have done it to us, we're on the end of a heavy defeat, and then people would be questioning whether I prepared the team. And before people say, that's not going to happen, we know on social media it would have happened, 100%. And I'd be up here trying to defend myself. And once you start defending yourself, you know what happens. Yeah, you're defending something. So that's why I was animated on the night. I didn't enjoy the night. And because the atmosphere was, I felt like I just needed the boys to, and credit to them, I thought, aside from everything else, our football was outstanding on the night. And that was important, not just for me, for the players, for our football club, because again, it would have cast aspersions on us as a football club when people were measuring us and saying, well, I don't think anyone will say that we didn't make Man City earn that win the other night. And it could have gone a very different way without anything changing from us, just by Man City being Man City.
One of those players, Rodrigo Bentancur, obviously, aside from the moment with him in the dugout, did you feel, maybe especially before the yellow card, that was more like the Bentancur maybe we're going to get next season?
Yeah, look, he was. Look, I thought the whole team was fantastic, but he was, and I think he felt that, and that's why he got frustrated. But look, part of the issue for us has been this year, you know, it's kind of what I spoke about after the game in more specific terms, is we've had a real lack of discipline this year around our football. Early in the year, it was mainly red cards and yellow cards that cost us really badly. And towards the end of the year, it's just been a lack of discipline to really stick to our football principles. There's been too many times where we've let ourselves down in that and we've paid a price. And the goal they scored was a little snapshot of that, of Rodrigo giving the ball away. And then because of that, he wanted to make amends, but he's already on a yellow card, so he can't bring the guy down. So we're paying for two bits of ill discipline against a team that's very disciplined, and then they just go do what they do. They have their moment, they score their goal. So I thought, as painful as it was a good moment for us to really crystallise, like I said, after the game. Because I think, again, I was obviously very, I wasn't happy after the game because we lost again. But when you asked me about foundations, I couldn't sit there and be disingenuous and say that our foundation's strong. We've lost 5 out of 6 games, big games. That's the reality. So, and part of that's just been the discipline of us. So going back to the question earlier about it being embedded, that's where I think we've still got a long way to go.
On that topic, you mentioned earlier not just the players maybe haven't all bought in entirely yet, but also staff. Is that an area where there maybe could also be some changes as well as playing the squad for next season? Yeah, well, it's funny because I said changes a few weeks back. People just assume that means people leaving. It doesn't. It just means changes. Just means the way we work, bringing in more people in, different people in. I've got a much better picture of sort of the environment now and what we need, and so the club's been really supportive to say, well, whatever you need, extra resources, different kinds of people to bring in. Doesn't mean people are necessarily leaving. It's just, the club's really been real supportive about that. And the whole buying thing is not that people don't want to. It just takes time because, this is a major shift from what it was. Not necessarily for the better, because that time will prove that. But no one can say that we don't play differently, we don't train differently, we haven't, brought in different kinds of players than what has been fairly consistent over the last few years. So when you have that change, it naturally takes time for people to buy into things. You have a bigger coaching staff.
It's not just about coaching, though. I mean, it's there's so many components. There's the coaches, there's the sports science, there's the medical, there's analysis, there's scouting, there's so many aspects to it. And when you get to the position where you think you've got a chance of having success, that whole area has to be. So it's not just coaching, it's well beyond that.
Okay, we'll finish this section with George, please.
Sorry, mate?
Hi, and you just spoke about that first goal, the first Man City goal, and it does kind of feel like in these sort of recent games against the bigger clubs, the big moments, as you say, have been lacking. I mean, how do you make this group sort of more killers in those moments? Yeah,
it's not killers. Like I said, it's just discipline of, sort of believing in something and sticking to that task relentlessly. That's what City do. And to be fair, we made them really uncomfortable tonight. A lot of the stuff they usually do, they couldn't do. But we just didn't stick at it. We kind of had a lapse, and when you have a lapse against the very best, they'll punish you, and that's what happened to us. And that's happened to us. Like I said, when I look at the last sort of, these 5 sort of losses, they've all had those elements of us playing some really unbelievable football, but some enormous lapses in concentration, focus, discipline. So that tells me that, going back to my original point, the foundations aren't really strong yet. And that's what I've got to concentrate on. Before we start moving to beyond that, is to get that embedded in this group and us as a club. So that's the challenge.
And you tweaked the system, didn't you, on Tuesday? I'm guessing you couldn't have had hardly any time at all to work with that. I mean, how pleased were you with that? And is that something that kind of you've been thinking about for a while, or is that kind of more reactionary to City?
No, it's, I've always said that, in my career anyway, necessity is the mother of invention, mate, so I'm always kind of on that. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest sort of misconceptions about me, that I'm You know, I've got just one plan. I've used every system in the world in my career, mate. And often during games, often during seasons, often, you know, so I played with just about every formation you can. And I just thought we're obviously a bit short up front, and I just thought with the way City set up and the way we wanted to play tonight, just having the extra midfield, and particularly Pape, because he's got so much energy and running capacity, but he's also a quality footballer that, you know, we could sort of, like I said, the idea was to make them uncomfortable, and I'd give them something that they weren't expecting. And it's a lot easier than people think to tweak those things. You don't have to work, as long as your principles stay the same. And that's where I am, kind of, like the principles about having the ball, about pressing, those kind of things don't change. It's just, you know, the way we do it in terms of positioning.
And just kind of a final one, the sort of Spurs fan base has come a little bit under attack in recent days. Some people have kind of suggested the trophy drought is kind of to do with that kind of mindset on Tuesday night and a small time mindset. Is that fair?
I don't know what that means. I mean, you know, supporters are there to sort of, you know, back their club, and they do their bit, and they've certainly done their bit for us this year. You know, I mean, the amount of games we've won late at the stadium this year has been extraordinary, you know, and that's the crowds. Anyone who's been there will tell you that the supporters have played a big part in that. Now, like I said, the last game I don't understand, and I hold my hand up. I got it wrong. You know, I sat here the day before and I kind of mocked the whole thing because I really didn't believe that was the case. But if that's how people feel, then again, I can't, because I'm not a Spurs supporter. They are. This is their football club. They're the custodians, not me. All I can say is, like I said, offer my opinion on what you need to be successful. And for me, you can't be successful if your motivations change depending on the contest. You've got to win all the time. You know, if you're playing your brother, you're going to fight to the death, mate. He's still your brother. You're going to fight to the death to win. That's just been me my whole career. So I can't, the same way probably Spurs supporters, or because it wasn't just Spurs supporters, everyone I heard was saying the same thing. They understand how they feel. So the same way they understand how they feel, well, I don't understand because I'm totally different. I just can't think of anything worse than not going all in on victory every time you're out there. But that's me.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. We'll move on to the Embargoed for 10:30 p.m. tonight. Dan, do you want to start?
Sure, Ange. What were your comments about not just the atmosphere during the game, but kind of the atmosphere around the club beforehand? So I think there was a perception that might have coloured kind of what you said as well as the game itself.
No. Like I said, for me, I just think when you're trying to achieve at this level, whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you have to be totally focused on that objective. You can't get distracted, like by anything, like whether it's, you know, this time it was sort of whatever the issue was, but next time there'll be another issue. Like there'll always be something that will try and drag you away, and that's why I keep going. The discipline is to say, well, no, actually, what the most important thing is that we prepare ourselves for victory, and everyone's aligned in that. And when everyone's aligned in that, you've got a better chance of success. But if you're not, if people are sort of, you know, geez, we've got to deal with this, we've got to deal with that, and oh, what about this? And then I just don't think you can be truly successful at this level with the margins that you need to be if you get distracted.
So did you feel people inside the club weren't aligned and were distracted then? Was that
I mean, that's...
Just trying to get you gauge if it was just...
Yeah, but hold on a sec, Dan. I sat in here and all the questions I got were about that. Of course, I'm distracted. Like, we're human beings, mate. So, of course. It's not like... But do you want me to say there's a culprit in there that caused everything the other? That doesn't happen, mate. It's not how it works. All I'm saying is that there's always going to be issues, and how you deal with them and how we deal with them as a football club is going to be important. And until you go through these experiences, so okay, you want a culprit? It's me, because I didn't take it seriously. That's what I think happened. I just didn't really understand what was going on. I just didn't think that that was the case. If I had my time again, yes, I would do things differently. I would address the media differently the day before. I probably would address people in the club because they're looking for me for direction. So if you want a head on a stick, it's my ugly mug, mate. So there you go.
Darren?
And I'm sitting here listening to you. I can't help feeling, I can be straight, I can't help feeling you're being incredibly hard on yourself. You've worked up in Scotland. Right. You've worked in, you've done Celtic Rangers. You know what a rivalry feels like. Yeah. You've worked in Australia. You've been straight talking. I've seen some of your interviews out there. I just can't help feeling. I mean, people say you don't get it, and you get it, don't you?
I do, mate. And you know what? I had, when I started at Celtic, it was the same sort of discussion around. Everything was framed around because don't forget, when I took over, Rangers had won it the year before, and Celtic hadn't won anything, which is quite extraordinary for that football club. Like they'd gone from trebles to not one trophy. And when I first got there was a lot of talk, some internal as well, but a lot of it was about what Rangers were doing. And I was pretty consistent, and it would be on public record as saying, we've got to worry about ourselves. Don't worry about anyone else. You be the best you can be. And I actually, I've said a number of times, you run your own race, and when you get to the finish line, have a look around and see where you finished. Don't worry about what the person next to you is doing. And I've always been consistent with that. And I was up there. I thought it was really important up there because I felt like there was too much of an obsession with what was happening at Rangers at the time, because they were ahead, that we were never going to catch them if that's what we were always obsessed about. Because you can't control that. You can't control what another club does. You want to stop another club winning a trophy? Win it yourself. Like, that's the answer. It's not about... And that doesn't mean you don't want them to lose. I get that, absolutely. Like, I felt that living up in, as much as people were happy we were winning, they were just as happy the other mob were losing. And it was vice versa. So I get that. But the notion of not wanting to win for any reason, I can't understand it. It doesn't... So I don't think it's... Look, I don't think it's a healthy... Not healthy is the wrong word. I don't think it's the right mentality to have if you want to be successful. If you want to be successful, you just worry about yourself. The best just worry about themselves. Be the best I can be. If that's short, then I'll get up next time and go that extra bit. Hate my rivals, want them to lose, but all I'm concerned about is myself. But I didn't hear anyone say that last week. All I heard was that it's okay to feel that way, and it's that it's understandable. So part of me thinks I am kind of on the outer on this subject, and I did get it wrong. But I won't change. Like I said, I'm fully respectful of that view, but I'm firmly on the other side of, I just think you worry about yourself.
Have you felt it necessary to maybe sit down with some people and say, look, this never happens again. It's done, it's gone. Never again. I'm going to change this thing.
Yeah.
Differently.
No, I can't do that. But what I'm hoping I can do is, like I did at Celtic, is, provide a platform where the fans get what they want. And if I can give the fans what they really want, because as much as they may say, well, they're ecstatic if their greatest rival doesn't win something, what they really want is success. That's what it boils down to. So if I can give them success, then maybe I can sort of drive that message a little bit better.
You look at Sunday's game and Sunday as a day, as what might have been. I mean, because Villa got to go to a very difficult place, 5 wins from their last 6 for Palace. You go to Sheffield United, already relegated. Obviously, you respect the game, but they've conceded over 100 goals this season.
Yeah, look, as I said, I just felt it would have been disingenuous for me to say that we were in a good place when we've lost 5 of our last 6 games. It wasn't just about the other night. We knew we had some big tests coming, and we fell well short in these last 5 out of 6 games. And I don't think we earned the right to finish above where we are right now. So it wasn't just about the other night. So now I could spin it a different way for sure and say, look, we finished 8th last year. We didn't have Europe this year. We'll be in Europe next year. We brought some pretty good footballers to the club, some young, exciting talent. We're definitely playing different football, closer, I think, to what the expectations were when they appointed me. But that's not a good starting point for us, I don't think, to improve. The good starting point is to say, yeah, we've made some progress, but we've still got some way to go, and we need to address these things. And it wasn't just the other night. Like I said, this last period has shown me that if we want to compete against the best, the margins are small, but they're probably the hardest to kind of close.
Just the last one from me, unrelated to all of this. It's Jurgen's last day. Everyone obviously is giving him a few words to send him off. What would your message be?
Yeah, look, you always look for people who make an impact, and it's not always just about the trophies, and he's got some pretty significant trophies. I think for all of us, what we look for is that when it's all done and dusted, like I said, we've made an impact, that people remember us. Now, he will always be remembered as one of the most famous football clubs in the world. And it wasn't easy, because when you take over a club that hasn't had success for a while after tasting a lot of success, that's a hard shift. And he's put in a hard shift, and, I think... like I said, when you make an indelible impact where you've been, I think that's the greatest reward for anybody, apart from the trophies and, anything else you may gain along the way. He made people's lives better. No, nothing greater than that.
Tom?
And do you think a lot of fans will watch this press conference and read about it, and they'll have a lot of fears allayed by the way you've clarified all the things the other day, but they will have been quite alarmed at the reaction and worrying about whether you're happy here, really. So just to sort of draw a line under it, and I know you've sort of referred to it throughout the times, but are you happy at Tottenham? And is all this not going to be a problem for you?
I mean, we've lost 5 out of 6 games. Like, I'm not going to come in here and be happy. Look, I'm hoping that you guys, after sort of a year with me, have understood that I am who I am. I can't hide who I am and what I believe. And if I'm not happy about something, I'm going to say I'm not happy. We lost 5 out of 6 games. I'm gutted. I'm not going to walk into a press conference and try and paint a rosy picture, especially on the back of the preceding 24 hours, where I felt that, like I said, it was the most unenjoyable experience I've had on a touchline in my whole career. That's 26 years of football, where I'm sitting on the sideline not really enjoying the battle against one of the best. I could have sent in Chris Davies, mate, and probably, like I said, everyone's fears would be allayed and everything would be great, but at least people know how I feel. But am I up for the fight? Absolutely, mate. I love it. This is why I've come here, and this ain't the last fight I'm going to have for sure. Because I'll be honest with you, the biggest fight I'll have at this football club is when we get close to success. That'll be the biggest one.
The game of the weekend, you need one more point to make sure you stay fit. We've had many press conferences this season where the debate about Champions League and talking some of the results.
Do you want me to park the bus and get a 0-0?
How important is it to, because obviously if Man United win the final, if you drop down to 6th and just win above you in the Conference League, does this matter?
Yeah, it does matter, because again, I think it's been misconstrued that somehow people think I didn't care about Champions League. All I kept saying was, of course, I want to finish as high as possible, but it wasn't going to disguise the work we had needed to do. And it's the same on the weekend. I want us to win. I don't want to, like I said, we've got some, we haven't had some great results. Our performances have fluctuated, so we need a strong performance. We need a win, and that'll get us 5th spot, and we kind of know where we're finished, and we know what competition we're in next year, and I think that's important. But again, that doesn't change anything in terms of how I feel about all the work we need to do. But yeah, it is important we win, absolutely. Coming off the back of our recent form, we need to go out there, and And again, I don't want to also overlook the fact that we played awfully well the other night. If we play that well on the weekend, I reckon we've got a good chance for a result.
Just finally, you obviously off to Australia after that. We've spoken about it before when the fixture first was revealed. You know, your thoughts on it? Kieran Trippier yesterday after the Newcastle game was pretty blunt about his feelings about it, specifically ahead of the Euros. That it's not Benidorm, it's not round the corner, it's not ideal.
It's not what?
It's not Benidorm, as in it's not. It's not
What's that? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Don't go. You love it.
Don't go. You love it.
I like it.
Okay. All right. Go. If you like it, I'm not going.
I think those two things.
Okay.
If I can remember my train of thought, yeah. So basically, it's not round the corner. It's a bit of a way, not ideal ahead of
Yeah.
European Championships. Would you understand? Have you got any players that have had any concerns? And would you understand if they did?
No, look, we discussed that earlier, and I think our situation is probably a little bit different from Newcastle because like they've had a European season, Champions League. It's been a big season. We haven't, and it's no secret. Part of this is yes, exposure, but also revenue for us. And I'm pretty certain, and I certainly wouldn't have allowed it to happen if we were in Europe this year and had a bigger game schedule. I probably would have said no to it. And I don't think the club would have expected us to go. So, you know, if we're in Europe next year, I don't think you'll be seeing this happen. I don't think it's ideal, but I think each situation is unique. And for us, on the back of our season, I think to play one more game 2 days after the end of the season, I think is, there's substance to it for us. And we had a discussion with the playing group really early on about it, and they understood why we're doing it. And we all kind of made a commitment to go, and that's what's going to happen.
Any final ones? No? Okay, we'll leave it there.
Is this a bit... Yeah, I think it's a bit where I have to sort of pretend to thank you all and be happy that we've had a great experience together and appreciate all your support. No, I do, thank you. Obviously, the last press conference and, just thank everyone for, I guess, being present and making sure that I'm accountable all the time and hopefully you'll get a sort of a better insight into me and you enjoyed some of it like I did. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
2 claps.